What he revealed next sent shockwaves through the audience. The woman had not only been involved in exposing corruption, but had once been framed for misconduct herself, forced out of her role to protect higher-ups in the department. Her return to the town wasn't random, it was personal. The officer she confronted had played a key role in her downfall years ago, and now the pieces of the puzzle were finally coming together. The air in the room grew tense as people processed the revelation. The retired officer handed the folder to her, urging her to open it and share its contents. As she reached for the documents, the officer from the incident unexpectedly walked in, his expression unreadable. The room held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. With trembling hands, the woman opened the folder. Inside were documents that confirmed her claims, evidence of cover-ups, falsified reports, and a trail leading back to the officer who had confronted her. The room erupted in gasps as she laid the papers on the podium for all to see. The truth was undeniable now, and the community's anger turned toward those who had abused their power for so long. But just as the tension seemed to peak, the woman spoke, her voice steady but filled with emotion. She revealed that she had been quietly gathering evidence for years, determined to clear her name and expose the corruption that had ruined so many lives, including her own. The retired officer's appearance had been part of her plan, a calculated move to force the truth into the open. Then came the final twist. The officer who had spit on her suddenly stepped forward. His voice cracked as he confessed to being coerced into his role in the past scandal. He admitted he had been threatened with losing his job if he didn't comply. He apologized publicly, his remorse palpable, but it wasn't enough to undo the damage. The woman turned to the crowd, her words cutting through the tension. This isn't about revenge. It's about accountability for everyone. No one is above the law, not even those sworn to uphold it. Her statement left the room in stunned silence, a turning point for the community and a lesson none would forget. In the weeks that followed, the town began to heal, but the echoes of what had happened would not fade quickly. The woman's courage in bringing the truth to light sparked a wave of reforms within the police department. Investigations were launched, and several officials linked to the corruption scandal were held accountable. The officer who had confronted her resigned, his apology marking the start of his own journey toward redemption. The woman chose not to stay in the spotlight. Instead, she quietly worked with community leaders to ensure no one else would face the injustices she had endured. Her story became a symbol of resilience and the power of standing up for what's right, no matter the odds. For the town, the incident served as a wake-up call, a reminder that true change begins with facing the truth. And for the woman, it was a long-overdue moment of justice. In a quiet town where everyone thought they knew each other, one shocking moment changed everything. A routine encounter between a white officer and a black woman spiraled into an incident that no one could have predicted. Witnesses were left stunned when tempers flared, and tensions boiled over in a way that left the community divided. But what truly shocked the entire police force was not the confrontation itself. It was the revelation of the woman's identity. Who was she, and why did her presence strike a chord so deeply within the system? As the truth unraveled, it exposed hidden connections, buried truths, and a story far more complicated than anyone could have imagined. Stay tuned as we dive into this gripping tale of accountability, resilience, and the powerful impact of uncovering someone's true story. What happens next will leave you speechless. The woman, whose calm yet commanding presence seemed to silence the chaos around her, left everyone wondering who she really was. Whispers spread quickly among the onlookers, with some speculating she might be connected to someone powerful. The officer, visibly shaken after the incident, seemed to realize he had made a grave mistake. But what made this moment even more chilling was her quiet confidence. She didn't raise her voice, didn't retaliate. Instead, her piercing gaze said everything she chose not to say out loud. As more details began to emerge, the town learned that she wasn't just passing through. She had a reason for being there that day, a purpose that tied her to the very heart of the police department. Questions swirled. Was she a lawyer? A journalist? or something else entirely? One thing was clear: this wasn't just about one moment, it was the start of something much bigger. As the days passed, the incident became the talk of the town. News of the confrontation spread, and people began taking sides. Some defended the officer, claiming it was a misunderstanding blown out of proportion, while others demanded accountability for his actions. Tensions simmered in the community, with debates sparking in cafes, on social media, and even at the local church. Meanwhile, the mysterious woman remained silent, refusing to make any public statements. Her silence only deepened the intrigue. Then, rumors began to surface about her connections to law enforcement. Some said she was a former police officer herself. Others believed she had ties to a high-profile case from years ago. But why would someone with her background find herself in such a tense situation? And why did she seem so unfazed by it all? Behind the scenes, a deeper story began to unfold, one that could change everything for the town and its police force. The town was buzzing when an unexpected twist came to light. A leaked document revealed that the woman had once worked on a groundbreaking investigation targeting corruption within the very police force she now faced. The officer involved in the confrontation had been linked to that case, though details remained murky. The revelation left everyone questioning whether the encounter was purely accidental or if something more calculated was at play. The police department scrambled to contain the growing scrutiny, issuing vague statements that did little to quell the rising tension. Protests began to form outside the station, with calls for justice echoing louder by the day. Yet through it all, the woman remained calm, watching the chaos unfold like someone who knew the truth but wasn't ready to share it. As the community demanded answers, an emergency meeting was called at City Hall. It was here, in front of cameras and a packed room, that she made an appearance, ready to speak. But just as she approached the podium, something happened that left everyone in shock. As the woman stepped to the podium, the room fell silent, every eye fixed on her. But before she could say a word, a man in the back of the room stood up, holding a folder thick with documents. He called out her name, his voice firm and resolute, stopping her in her tracks. The crowd turned, murmurs rippling through the room. The man identified himself as a retired officer who had worked the very case tied to her past.